Okay, let's start things off with the dollar. So coming into the week, I've been pretty bullish on the USD, looking for buying opportunities, and that very much has been the case, except we haven't really seen that price action come into play. So I'm kind of waiting to see if I can see a bit more strength before I do get long again on USD. What I do like is how corrective we are. Typically when price is showing corrective price action like this, it's a sign that we're starting to tire and potentially getting ready to form a bottom to potentially push higher. So I like the way we're moving. It's a sign that we're a little bit fatigued and perhaps a bottom could be forming. I did talk a lot about this area previously as a nice area of demand where, of course, we saw some buying pressure previously. Perhaps we could see that again. I mean, we already have seen elements of that happening with this bullish move from yesterday. Of course, today we're looking a little bit bearish, coming back into support. So I did say yesterday, if we can have a bit of a rally, come back and form a bit of a double bottom, that could actually interest me for a buy, and it does. So if I can see some aggressive reactions here, maybe some more wicks and a strong close, I'll be happy to get long there for the dollar. Well, not necessarily long DXY, but potentially short on Euro or maybe long dollar CHF again potentially, but probably short Euro USD is my main pair that I'm watching at the moment, which we'll take a look in a second. But yeah, I quite like what I'm seeing. I'm not quite ready yet to get long, but I'm seeing signs that potentially the buyers are entering the market, especially at this area of significance. So if things do go to plan, I'm looking for the continuation of this bullish structure. So of course, higher highs and higher lows. The plan is, can we find the next higher low for perhaps the next higher high? I do have a target kind of before that, an intermediate target, you could say, with this swing high here, taking that across around 98.8 or 99, we can maybe call it. I think that would be a good, healthy first target if we can bank some profits there, or just keep an eye out if maybe market shots start to show some rejection here. Perhaps that's a sign to maybe get out the trade or maybe reduce risk. So I'll keep an eye on this level, but truthfully, if you could really see the swing come into play, I'll be looking for a push all the way back to 100, back into the swing high. So pretty bullish here for the dollar. And of course, naturally, that means I'm pretty bearish for EURUSD, which is definitely the case. And as price is approaching this area of supply, kind of a similar area to what the DXY is approaching, an area of demand, and this is where we consolidated and had a very aggressive bearish move. And our price is moving towards that same area. So with EURUSD, I'm pretty much bearish as well. Just kind of waiting to see what we can do on a retest. We are still trading within this bullish channel. Again, it's pretty much copy and paste in terms of what the DXY is doing, just the opposite way, to be honest. So I like how synchronized they are at the moment. But yeah, for Euro, I'm looking to see what we can do at the highs again. Perhaps a double top, maybe some more wicks, and a strong close. That could be something that does get me excited and does get me into a trade. Again, the plan for Euro is pretty much the same. Can we get at least a push into this low here? And if everything goes very well, perhaps a push all the way to this low, around 1.14. So again, simply just looking to see if we can catch the next lower high. We've got one over here, a second over there, and perhaps we're getting ready to form a third. If we are going to form a lower high, this would be the area I would expect it to fall. So keeping a close eye here for Euro. I'm seeing good behavior in terms of how price is moving. It's slow, corrective. It's a sign that we're struggling to push higher, and perhaps that lower high could come into play. So really, my interest is on the double top. We'll see what we do there. Probably not today. Probably something early next week we'll probably discuss. But I'm interested in some shorts. Pound USD, we did see a little bit of downside off the high here. But to be honest, I'm not really interested in shorting Pound USD. Pound itself has been very, very strong. And yeah, that hasn't been great to short because of that strength of pound. Of course, dollar's been relatively weak as well. So we've seen a pretty big up move there for pound. My original bias coming into last week and into this week as well was looking to short pound on the retest of this level, which didn't really provide much of a rejection. Then I was looking at the retest of this trend line, which saw a slight rejection, not enough for a trade. Then, of course, price eventually did break through. So we're coming to our last kind of straw right now, which is this level here. Perhaps we could see a rejection here, and perhaps we could see a swing back to lows. Price could repeat a similar move, but I'm not quite convinced, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the price action. I think other USD pairs look better, especially that EURUSD, which we just had a look at. More corrective behavior, more emphasis with these bearish candles. Pound USD is still looking pretty bullish to me, and in fact, if we do get a break of structure here, that really does put to bed my bearish bias, and I won't be interested in shorting pound USD whatsoever. So I'm very watchful of the pound. I'm not really interested to short it. If we do break structure, that puts to bed the bearish bias. And yeah, again, I'm always about quality over quantity, and euro looks a lot better, so I'd rather focus my efforts there. So not quite convinced on the shorts there for dollar CAD, even if we do start to see some strength there. I mean, for pound USD, even if you do start to see some strength for USD. As for dollar CAD, we did see some nice upside yesterday as well. This one looks as if we're trying to break out of this consolidation, so to speak. Maybe a bit of a failed attempt there. It might be pulling back for a retest, for a continuation. But I do like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD, especially like the daily close, to be honest, because I've been talking a lot about this level of support resistance on the daily chart. And I said a couple of weeks ago, once we got the breakout, this could be a very nice area to keep an eye for a retest. So I did suggest keep an eye for buy opportunities here, which originally didn't really go to plan because we did see price actually close below, but looks to me that price has recovered, and yesterday we saw a pretty strong close to the upside. So as long as we don't break through the low here, I'm expecting this to be the new high low, so impulse, pull back, and I'm expecting another push back to highs and maybe back to 1.4 if things go very well. Maybe we see some CAD weakness, some dollar strength. That could very much be the case. But I quite like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD. I quite like what I'm seeing. I prefer EURUSD, especially in terms of risk to reward, because dollar CAD, the next major resistance is just above us here at 1.386. Whereas with EURUSD, I've got a pretty big swing to work with. Of course, there's some support here I'll watch out for. But if things go very well for euro, I could be looking from a drop from 1.17 all the way to 1.14. So I think there's a bit more opportunity regarding EURUSD, which again is why it's my preferred pair. But dollar CAD might present something like this, which again, if you maybe drop to an intraday time frame, you could probably find a better risk to reward there. So I suggest looking at something like that. Again, as long as dollar CAD doesn't break this low, I do expect us to see a higher low and another push back to highs. As for Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar pretty bearish yesterday. Hence, we had a pretty aggressive drop. It looks to me that we're kind of breaking outside of this ascending channel here. So perhaps now it's time to actually start to see the real momentum come into play for Aussie dollar. I do think we can see some more downside here. I'm looking at this as being our strong bearish move, and then this move is just being the correction, the pullback of that. So I do expect to see some more downside. Perhaps there might be some opportunities that look something like this, which could present maybe something of a head and shoulder pattern, especially if I was to drop to like an hourly chart. So you kind of got a left head, right shoulder. That could come into place, of course, that being your neckline. Not the biggest fan because I kind of want momentum to really kick in. We're seeing some upside here, but it's quite minimal. So I'm pretty bearish on Aussie dollar. I do think we can continue lower. But I would suggest keep an eye on that head and shoulder opportunity. Should we see a push back up there, that could be a smart place to actually take a position. And New Zealand dollar, pretty much the same thing as well. Very corrective on the way up. Very strong move to the downside yesterday afternoon. Breaking outside that channel. Things look pretty bearish to me now. So again, expecting a push back into the low. Very commanding breakout. Treating this bullish move as just a pullback before we do continue. That's very much my expected move there for New Zealand dollar. So pretty bearish on this one. Looks to me that price has formed potentially the lower high here. Probably some trend line confluence there. 1 to almost a third test, but roughly, price came into that area pretty well. And there's some support below us around around 0.585, sorry, where maybe price could be attracted towards. So yeah, New Zealand dollar, I see that falling as well. Very similar pair to Aussie. Again, I expect both of them to do pretty similar things, and I'm pretty bearish on both of them. As for gold, last time I checked, not much to report on that one. Yeah, not much to report, to be honest. Very choppy behavior, but we are just sideways. So as I've suggested in the past, not really interested with the price action for gold until we get back into the major highs or the major lows here. That's really where I see opportunity. In the middles where the most fluctuation will be, the most indecision will be. Unless you're on the lower time frames, then there might be some short-term buys, short-term sells you can take advantage of. But I wouldn't look for a big swing trade in these areas because of how choppy price is. If you're looking for a swing trade, your best bet is to wait for the lows or the highs to be tested, or even wait for breakouts. In the middle here, you want to be in and out pretty quickly, not trying to overstay your welcome, because naturally the market's going to be a bit choppy and it's difficult to catch a sustained move, especially from the middle. So not seeing much here for gold. Maybe if I was to drop to the lower time frames, there might be something there, maybe for the US session or something like that. But for a swing trade, what I'm interested in, as I've been saying, those are the two areas I'm interested in, which of course we are nowhere near at the moment. And silver's an interesting one. I still like silver buys longer term. Still keeping a very close eye on this area, a meaningful level of support on the daily, weekly chart. I really like this place for a buy, 34.9 we can call it. So I've been looking for actually a push into that area. I still do think we can get one. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, I quite like what we saw last couple of weeks with this bearish move. The way I see it, price had a really aggressive move there, taking out structure, and I'm expecting a pullback for continuation lower. Although I must say, the way the market's pulled back doesn't really do me any favors, and it hasn't really set up how I wanted it to, at least for me to take some shorts here. So maybe if we start to form a bit of consolidation and maybe start to show signs of breaking lower, then I'll be a bit more interested with the shorts again with silver, perhaps on the breakout or even on the retest. And then of course we can speak about this low and then probably the lows I just mentioned on the daily chart. So silver, could be forming a lower high. Possibly that could be a lower high in motion there. I did say yesterday that if momentum can pick up and we can take out highs, then the buys and the pullbacks makes the most sense. Trying to pick the lows all the way to the high, we haven't really seen that just yet. So it really depends which way we break out. If we clear the highs, probably going to head back to the swing high here at 39.4. Clear the lows, then we're looking at this area here. But I would say it's looking a bit 50-50 at the moment for silver. So yeah, just waiting for kind of clear-cut momentum, and then we can kind of analyze silver in probably a better light. But for now, I need a little bit more from silver before I can kind of confidently say I'm expecting a push to the highs or a push to the lows for now. But this is definitely a bullish setup, which hasn't changed for a while. If we can get there, I'm still very much interested in the longs.